I stood in my small bakery kitchen at 3 a.m., the familiar scent of rising dough filling the air, and stared at the empty metal tin that once held $47,000. $47,000 gone. Every bill I'd tucked away over 7 years, every weekend I'd worked instead of rested, every vacation I'd postponed, all vanished. And the man responsible? My daughter's fiancé, Marcus Chen, is the charming entrepreneur who promised to double our money in 6 months. My name is Patricia Hayes. I'm 52 years old and I've owned Hayes Family Bakery in Richmond, Virginia for nearly 2 decades. I'm telling you this story not because I want sympathy, but because I need you to understand something crucial. The person who steals your dreams isn't always a stranger. Sometimes they're sitting at your dinner table calling you mom and smiling while they destroy everything you've built. Let me take you back to where it all began, because this story, this painful, infuriating, ultimately redemptive story, started with the best of intentions and ended with lessons I never wanted to learn. 18 months ago, my daughter Jasmine came home glowing, not just happy, glowing. She'd been dating Marcus for 8 months, and I'd met him exactly 3 times. Each time he wore expensive suits, talked about disrupting industries, and checked his phone constantly, apologizing about deals closing and investors calling. "Mom," Jasmine said, practically bouncing into my kitchen, "Marcus proposed." I dropped the mixing bowl I was holding. Flour exploded across the counter like snow. My baby girl, my brilliant, beautiful daughter who'd graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University with honors, was getting married. We hugged and cried and laughed, and she showed me the ring. It was massive. It probably cost more than I made in 3 months. "Honey, it's gorgeous," I said, trying to hide my concern. "But can you two afford?" "Mom," she squeezed my hand, "Marcus is doing so well. His startup just secured a 2nd round of funding. He's talking about going public within 2 years. I wanted to believe it. Lord knows I wanted to believe it. "But I still want the wedding we always dreamed about," she continued. "The one we talked about when I was little, remember? The garden ceremony, the string quartet, the reception at that historic mansion in Williamsburg." I remembered. Of course, I remembered. When she was 8 years old, we'd driven past the Carter estate in Williamsburg, and she'd pressed her face against the car window, mesmerized by a wedding taking place in the gardens. "Someday, Mama," she'd whispered. "Someday, that'll be me." I'd been saving since that day, not consistently at first. There were years when business was slow, when equipment broke down, when I could only add $20 here, $50 there. But I never stopped. The metal tin sat on the top shelf of my bedroom closet, and every week, every month, I added what I could. By the time Marcus proposed that tin hold $47,000. It wasn't enough for the dream wedding. Not quite. The Carter estate alone wanted $30,000 for the venue, but it was a start. It was hope in physical form. "I've been saving," I told Jasmine that night. "It's not everything we need, but it's a foundation." She cried again, but there were different tears. Grateful tears. "Mom, I can't let you do that. You've worked so hard." "Hush." I pulled her close. "This is what mothers do. This is what love looks like. You're my only child, Jasmine. I want you to have the wedding of your dreams." If I could go back to that moment, I would shake myself. I would scream at the woman I was, warn her, tell her to hide that money somewhere Marcus Chen could never find it. But I can't go back. None of us can. Marcus started coming around more often after the engagement. At first, it was normal. Planning dates with Jasmine, discussing wedding details, being the dutiful fiancé. He was charming. I'll give him that. He'd compliment my baking, ask about my business, and seem genuinely interested in the small-town bakery world I inhabited. "You know, Patricia," he said one evening over dinner at my house, "you've built something really special here. Family business, loyal customer base, consistent revenue. Do you ever think about expanding?" Expanding? I laughed. Marcus, I can barely keep up with the orders I have now. That's exactly my point. He leaned forward, his eyes intense. You're operating at maximum capacity with minimal infrastructure. Imagine if you could automate some processes, hire additional staff, and maybe open a second location. You could triple your revenue within a year. Jasmine beamed at him. Isn't he brilliant, Mom? He's always thinking about growth opportunities. Something in my gut twisted, but I smiled. That sounds wonderful in theory, Marcus, but expansion requires capital I don't have. Actually, he said, pulling out his phone, I wanted to talk to you about that. Can I show you something? He spent the next 20 minutes presenting what he called a guaranteed investment opportunity. His startup, some kind of financial technology platform, was offering early investment positions to friends and family before the next funding round. The return is insane, he said, showing me charts and graphs. I didn't fully understand. We're projecting 300% returns within 6 months. Some of our early investors have already doubled their initial stakes. Marcus, I don't know anything about tech investments. You don't need to. He put his hand over mine. That's the beauty of it. You trust me, right? I'm going to be your son-in-law. I would never steer you wrong. And think about it. If you invest, say, $40,000 now, in 6 months you'd have $120,000. More than enough for Jasmine's dream wedding, with plenty left over. My heart skipped. $120,000. Enough for the wedding and then some. I don't know, I said slowly. That's my entire savings. I understand your hesitation. Marcus nodded sympathetically. But can I ask you something? What's that money doing right now? Sitting in a tin, earning 0 interest. Inflation is eating away at it every single day. Meanwhile, you could be actively growing it. Jasmine touched my arm. Mom, you've worked so hard for that money. Don't you deserve to see it grow? And Marcus knows what he's doing. His investors trust him completely. Tell you what, Marcus said. Don't decide tonight. Think about it. Talk to your accountant if you want. But I need to know by next week because these positions are filling up fast. I can only hold a spot for you for so long. After they left, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, doing the math over and over. $40,000 becomes $120,000. 6 months. Then Jasmine could have everything she wanted. The venue, the dress, the honeymoon in Bali she'd been dreaming about. I thought about my late husband, David. He died 8 years ago, and I still missed him every single day. Before he passed, he'd controlled all our finances. I never learned about investments, stocks, or compound interest. I just worked, baked, and trusted that things would be okay. Maybe it was time to be smarter with money. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe this was an opportunity I couldn't afford to miss. The next morning, I called my friend Gerald Thompson. Gerald ran the local credit union and had helped me set up my business account years ago. He was honest, cautious, and knew more about money than anyone I trusted. Jerry, I said over coffee at the bakery, what do you know about tech startup investments? He frowned. Why are you asking? I explained Marcus's pitch. The more I talked, the deeper Gerald's frown became. Patricia, he said carefully when I finished, I need you to listen to me very carefully. What you're describing sounds exactly like a high-risk venture capital play. At best, it's speculative. At worst, it's a scam. But Marcus is going to be my son-in-law. I don't care if he's the President of the United States. Gerald's voice was sharp. You do not invest your entire life savings in someone else's startup. Period. That's not investing. That's gambling. And even if his company is legitimate, which I have serious doubts about, startups fail 90% of the time. 9 out of 10. He said it was guaranteed. Nothing in investment is guaranteed except risk. Gerald pulled out a notepad. Listen to me. If you want to help Jasmine with her wedding, keep that money exactly where it is. If you want to invest, put maybe $2,000. Money you can afford to lose, into a diversified index fund. But your wedding fund? That stays liquid and safe. I thanked him and left, but doubt crept in. Gerald was cautious, maybe too cautious. Marcus was young, ambitious, and successful. He knew the tech world. He had investors. He had funding rounds. And he was going to be family. 3 days later, Marcus called me directly. Not through Jasmine, just him. "Patricia, I wanted to give you an update," he said. His voice had an emergency I hadn't heard before. "We just got word that we're closing this investment round early. That means if you want to go in, I need to know by tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" My stomach dropped. "Marcus, I know it's fast, but this is how these things work. Capital moves quickly in the tech world. I've already had to turn away 3 other potential investors because we're at capacity. I'm literally holding your spot open right now, but if you can't commit, I have to release it to someone else." "Can I think about it?" "Of course. But Patricia," he paused, "can I be honest with you? As someone who's going to be your son-in-law, as someone who loves Jasmine more than anything?" "Yes? You've sacrificed so much for her. I see how hard you work. Those 4 a.m. mornings, the weekends, the holidays. Don't you think you deserve to see that sacrifice pay off? Don't you think Jasmine deserves to have the wedding she's dreamed about since she was a little girl?" I closed my eyes. The image of 8-year-old Jasmine, face pressed against the car window, flooded my memory. "This is your chance," Marcus continued softly. "Your chance to give her everything she's ever wanted. And in 6 months, you'll have money left over to finally take that vacation you've been putting off. Maybe even upgrade some equipment at the bakery. All you have to do is trust me." Trust. That word hung in the air between us. "Let me talk to Jasmine," I said. "Of course. But Patricia, time is literally running out. I need your answer by noon tomorrow." When Jasmine came over that evening, I showed her the metal tin. I told her about Gerald's warnings. I explained my fears. She held my hands and looked into my eyes. "Mom, I trust Marcus with my life, with our future. But more importantly, do you trust me? Do you trust my judgment? How do you say no to that? How do you tell your daughter that you doubt her choice in partner without insulting her intelligence, her maturity, her heart?" "I trust you," I whispered. "Then trust Marcus. Please, Mom. This could change everything for us. For you." That night, I took the tin down from the shelf. I counted the money 3 times, $47,000. 7 years of sacrifice, 7 years of hope. I thought about David. What would he do? And then I realized David would want Jasmine to be happy. David would trust our daughter's judgment. David would take the risk if it meant giving her the wedding of her dreams. At 11:45 a.m. the next day, I called Marcus. "I'm in," I said. "I'll invest $40,000. "Patricia, you're making the smartest decision of your life," Marcus said. I could hear the smile in his voice. "I promise you won't regret this. 6 months from now, you're going to thank me." He told me to write a check to Apex Capital Solutions, LLC, and deliver it to him by the end of the week. He'd handle the rest, all the paperwork, all the legal documentation. "One question," I said. "Why cash the check to a different company? I thought your startup was called TechFlow?" "Apex is our holding company," he explained smoothly. "All investments are processed through them for tax and legal purposes, completely standard for venture capital." It sounded reasonable. Everything about Marcus sounded reasonable. On Friday, I handed him a check for $40,000. He hugged me tightly. "You're going to be so proud of this decision," he said. "I can't wait to show you the returns." I kept $7,000 in the tin. Emergency money, just in case. Jasmine was ecstatic. She started planning in earnest, booking vendors, choosing flowers, and designing invitations. She glowed with happiness, and I told myself I'd made the right choice. I made my daughter happy. Surely, that was worth the risk. The first month was fine. Marcus would send occasional text updates. "Portfolio looking great, up 12% already." Or, had a major client meeting today. This is going even better than projected. Month 2, the updates became less frequent. When I asked for detailed statements, Marcus said the accounting team was behind, but everything would be ready by month 3. Month 3, Jasmine noticed I was anxious. "Mom, what's wrong?" she asked over coffee at the bakery. I haven't seen any actual paperwork from Marcus's investment. No statements, no documentation. He's busy, Mom. You know how startups are. He's working 80-hour weeks trying to get to the next funding milestone. I know, but do you not trust him? Her voice hardened slightly. Or do you not trust me? Jasmine, please don't. Because if you don't trust my fiancé, you're basically saying you don't trust my judgment. You're saying I'm too stupid to see through a scam artist. I never said. Then stop worrying. Everything is fine. Marcus loves me. He loves you. He would never hurt our family. I dropped it. But the anxiety grew like mold in a dark corner, spreading quietly, poisoning my peace. Month 4, I tried calling Marcus directly. He didn't answer. I left voicemails. He texted back, "Crazy busy with merger talks, will call soon." He never called. Month 5, I noticed something strange. Jasmine's social media posts featuring Marcus had stopped. Before, she'd shared everything. Date nights, couple photos, plans for the future. Now, nothing. "Are you two okay?" I asked during a rare lunch together. "We're fine," but she wouldn't meet my eyes. "Just busy with work and wedding planning." "When was the last time you saw him?" "Mom, stop interrogating me." "Jasmine, I said we're fine." She grabbed her purse and left. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something was wrong. Terribly, deeply wrong. At 2 a.m., I got up and called Gerald. "I think I made a terrible mistake," I whispered. Gerald came to the bakery the next morning with his laptop and a grim expression. "Tell me everything about this Apex Capital Solutions," he said. I gave him what little information I had. Marcus's phone number, the business name, and the bank account where my check was deposited. Gerald typed for 10 minutes, his face growing darker with each search result. "Patricia." He turned the laptop toward me. Apex Capital Solutions, LLC was registered 4 months ago in Delaware. The registered agent is a P.O. box. There's no website, no business address, no employee listing. It's a shell company. The bakery spun around me. What does that mean? It means Marcus Chen created a fake company to funnel your money into. This isn't an investment, this is theft. But he showed me charts, projections. Anyone can create fake documents. Patricia, I need you to hear me clearly. You've been scammed. Your money is gone. I couldn't breathe. The walls closed in. 7 years of savings, gone. Stolen by the man who was supposed to become family. "We need to go to the police," Gerald said, "right now." At the Richmond Police Department, Detective Sarah Martinez listened to my story with a sympathetic but practiced expression. I could tell she'd heard versions of this before. "Ms. Hayes, I'm going to be straight with you," she said. "Cases like this are extremely difficult to prosecute. Your daughter's fiancé could claim this was a legitimate investment that didn't pan out. He could say you knew the risks. Without clear evidence of intentional fraud, the chances of recovering your money are slim." But he lied. Lying isn't illegal in investment contexts, unfortunately. Investors lose money all the time in legitimate ventures. What we need to prove is that he never intended to invest your money, that he created this scheme specifically to defraud you. So, what do? File a report. I'll investigate. But Ms. Hayes? Detective Martinez leaned forward. "You need to tell your daughter, today. Because if Marcus Chen scammed you, there's a good chance he's scamming her too." I called Jasmine from the parking lot of the police station. She didn't answer. I called again and again. On the 5th try, she picked up. "Mom, I'm at work." "Jasmine, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Where is Marcus right now?" Silence. "Jasmine?" I I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. He said he had to fly to San Francisco for investor meetings. But Mom, he stopped answering my calls 3 days ago. His phone goes straight to voicemail. His roommate says he hasn't been back to the apartment. And Mom, her voice cracked, I'm scared. Come to my house right now. We need to talk. When Jasmine walked through my front door an hour later, she looked like she'd aged 10 years. Dark circles under her eyes, unwashed hair, trembling hands. He's gone, isn't he? She whispered. He took your money and ran. I told her everything. The fake company, Gerald's research, and the police report. With every word, I watched my daughter's heart break in real time. How could I have been so stupid? She collapsed on the couch, sobbing. How could I not see it? All those expensive dinners he paid for, that were your money. The ring he gave me, your money. Everything was a lie. You weren't stupid. You were in love. He's a con artist, Jasmine. This is what they do. They make you believe. I brought him into your life. I convinced you to invest. This is my fault. No. I sat beside her and pulled her close, just like I had when she was small and the world felt too big and scary. This is Marcus Chen's fault. Only his, not yours, not mine. His. We cried together for hours, and then, slowly, something shifted inside me. The grief hardened into rage. The betrayal transformed into determination. Marcus Chen had stolen my money. He'd broken my daughter's heart. He'd made me doubt myself, my judgment, my ability to protect my family. But I wasn't going to let him win. Detective Martinez called 3 days later. Ms. Hayes, we've found Marcus Chen. He's living in Charlotte, North Carolina under a different name. He's been doing this for at least 4 years. Different cities, different identities, different victims. You're not the first, and unfortunately, you probably won't be the last unless we build an airtight case. How many others are there? At least 12 that we've identified so far, mostly middle-aged women, small business owners, people with savings but no sophisticated understanding of investments. He targets them through romantic relationships with their children or relatives. It's a long con that creates emotional leverage. The pattern was disgustingly clear. Marcus wasn't just a thief, he was a predator who weaponized trust and family bonds. What can I do? I asked. Build your case. Documentation, witnesses, evidence of his lies. The more we have, the stronger the prosecution. And Ms. Hayes? We need to freeze his assets before he can move the money offshore. I spent the next 2 weeks becoming an amateur detective. I contacted every person who'd ever interacted with Marcus, tracked down his previous girlfriends, gathered bank statements and text messages. Gerald helped me create a timeline of lies. We discovered Marcus had 7 different aliases, 3 fake companies, and a trail of victims across Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia. The total theft exceeded $600,000. But we also discovered something else. Marcus had gotten sloppy, arrogant. He'd left digital footprint social media posts with geolocation data, credit card receipts, rental agreements under one of his real names. We've got him, Detective Martinez said when I delivered 3 banker boxes full of evidence. This is enough for multiple felony counts: fraud, identity theft, wire fraud. He's looking at serious prison time. Will I get my money back? She hesitated. Some of it, maybe. But Ms. Hayes, most of what he stole is probably gone, spent on luxury items, gambling, other schemes. Asset recovery in cases like this is rarely complete. The news hit me like a physical blow. $40,000. Gone forever. That night, I sat in my dark bakery, surrounded by the ovens and mixers and tools I'd used for 20 years to build a life. I thought about giving up, thought about selling the business, moving somewhere cheap, accepting defeat. But then I thought about Jasmine, about the other victims, about every future person Marcus Chen might scam if we didn't stop him. No, I wasn't giving up. I was fighting back. Marcus Chen was arrested 6 weeks later at a luxury hotel in Asheville. He'd been living under the name Michael Chang and had already begun courting a new victim, 55-year-old widow who owned a boutique in downtown. When they brought him to Richmond for arraignment, I was in the courtroom. I needed to see his face, needed him to see mine. He looked different than I remembered, thinner, older, more worn. The expensive suits were gone, replaced by an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. When his eyes met mine, there was no remorse, no shame, just cold calculation. The trial took 4 months. I testified about the investment pitch, the fake company, the promise of returns. So did 8 other victims. We told our stories of trust betrayed, savings stolen, dreams destroyed. Marcus's defense attorney argued that these were legitimate business deals that failed, that Marcus had intended to invest the money but made poor decisions. The jury didn't buy it. Guilty. 12 counts of wire fraud, 6 counts of identity theft, 4 counts of grand larceny. The judge sentenced him to 15 years in federal prison. "Mr. Chen," the judge said at sentencing, "you didn't just steal money. You stole security, peace of mind, and faith in humanity. You weaponized love and family bonds to enrich yourself. This court has seen many criminals, but few as calculating and remorseless as you." Marcus showed no emotion. Even at the end, he refused to apologize. But as the bailiffs led him away, he glanced back at me one last time. And at that moment, I saw something I hadn't expected. Fear. He was finally afraid, finally facing consequences. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. Asset recovery took another year. The federal government seized Marcus's bank accounts, his car, and his luxury items. After legal fees and distribution among all victims, I received $8,400. $8,400 out of $40,000. It felt like adding insult to injury, but I'd learned something crucial during this nightmare. I was stronger than I knew, and I'd learned lessons about money, business, and protection that no one should have to learn the hard way. I went back to Gerald at the credit union and asked him to teach me everything. "I don't want to be vulnerable ever again," I told him. "I want to understand investments, insurance, risk management, all of it." Gerald smiled sadly. "I'll help you, but Patricia, you weren't vulnerable because you were stupid. You were vulnerable because you loved your daughter and trusted someone who presented well. That's not a character flaw. That's being human." Over the next 6 months, Gerald became my financial mentor. He taught me about business insurance that I desperately needed, liability coverage so a customer injury wouldn't bankrupt me, property insurance so a fire wouldn't destroy everything, business interruption insurance so unexpected closures wouldn't kill my cash flow, life insurance to protect Jasmine's future if something happens to me. I got a $250,000 policy with Jasmine as beneficiary. After David's death, I'd let his policy lapse because I didn't understand renewal clauses. I wouldn't make that mistake again. Disability insurance to protect my income if I got sick or injured and couldn't work. Gerald explained that most people focus on death insurance but ignore the far more common risk of disability. A baker who can't use her hands can't earn. The policy would pay 60% of my income if I ever became disabled. Investment basics that didn't involve trusting con artists. Gerald taught me about diversified index funds, the difference between stocks and bonds, how compound interest actually works, and why you should never invest money you can't afford to lose. Red flags in investment scams. Guaranteed. Returns. Nothing is guaranteed. Pressure to decide quickly. Legitimate investments don't disappear overnight. Resistance to due diligence. Real businesses welcome scrutiny. And emotional manipulation. Mixing business with family creates dangerous leverage. I implemented real security measures for my business. I hired a bookkeeper to review finances quarterly. I opened a separate business account that required 2 signatures for large withdrawals. I created a succession plan so Jasmine would inherit properly protected assets. Most importantly, I learned about exclusions and limitations in every policy I bought. I read every word of fine print. I asked questions until I understood. I insisted on inflation protection clauses so my coverage would grow with costs, and waiver of premium riders so I wouldn't lose coverage if I couldn't pay during a disability. It was exhausting. It was humbling, but it was necessary. "You're becoming financially literate," Gerald told me one afternoon. "Most people never do this work. They drift through life hoping everything will be okay. You're taking control." The bakery slowly recovered. I used the $8,400 from asset recovery, plus my remaining $7,000 to upgrade equipment and improve marketing. I worked longer hours, took fewer days off, pushed myself harder than ever. 1 year after Marcus's arrest, I broke even. 2 years after, I was profitable again. 3 years after, I opened a second location near Petersburg. I rebuilt. Not just my savings, but myself. Jasmine didn't marry Marcus, obviously. She spent a year in therapy, working through the trauma of betrayal. She blamed herself for months, convinced she'd destroyed my life. "You didn't destroy anything," I told her repeatedly. "Marcus did. And honey, I'm proud of how you've handled this. You're stronger than you know." She eventually started dating again, cautiously this time. She met David, yes, she named him after her father, at a community service project. He was a teacher, kind and patient, with no interest in disrupting industries or exponential growth. He just wanted to make a difference in kids' lives. "Mom," Jasmine said 2 years after the Marcus nightmare, "David proposed. And Mom, I know you don't have savings anymore. I know that's my fault, so we're thinking of having a small ceremony at the courthouse and using the money we'd spend on a wedding to start a college fund for future kids." "Stop." I held up my hand. "Come with me." I led her to my bedroom, reached into the closet and pulled down the old metal tin. "Open it," I said. Her hands shook as she pried off the lid. Inside was $52,000 in cash. "Mom." Her eyes filled with tears. "How?" "I rebuilt. I worked. I saved. I learned. And honey, this time I did it right. This money is protected. It's in a high-yield savings account, properly insured, earning actual interest. No one can touch it except me. And I'm using it to give you the wedding you've always deserved. But after everything I put you through." "You didn't put me through anything. Life did. Marcus did. But we survived. We learned. And now we get to celebrate the right way, with the right man, with joy instead of fear." We held each other and cried, but there were happy tears, healing tears. 6 months later, Jasmine married David at the Carter Estate in Williamsburg. String quartet, garden ceremony, reception in the historic mansion, every detail she'd dreamed about since she was 8 years old. I walked her down the aisle, and when the officiant asked, "Who gives this woman to be married?" I said loudly and clearly, "I do. Her mother, who loves her more than life itself." In the front row, Gerald sat with his wife, beaming. Detective Martinez came too, off-duty but present to witness the happy ending. Even some of Marcus's other victims attended, women who'd become friends through our shared trauma and recovery. During the reception, I gave a toast. "Jasmine and David," I said, raising my glass. "Marriage is about trust, but it's also about wisdom, about knowing when to be generous and when to protect yourself, about recognizing red flags and having the courage to walk away from anything that doesn't serve your highest good." I looked around the room at all the faces, some marked by loss, some by recovery, all by resilience. I used to think love meant sacrifice without question. I was wrong. Real love means protecting what matters. It means educating yourself so you can make informed decisions. It means knowing the difference between investing in someone's future and enabling their deception. I turned back to the newlyweds. "David, you're a good man. I see how you love my daughter. With respect, with transparency, with integrity. That's worth more than any investment return Marcus Chen ever promised." The room erupted in applause. Later that night, as I watched Jasmine dance with her new husband, I thought about everything I'd lost and everything I'd gained. Yes, Marcus had stolen $31,600 that I never recovered. Yes, I'd spent 3 years rebuilding what took 7 years to save. Yes, I'd learned painful lessons about trust and vulnerability. But I'd also learned that I was capable of more than I knew. I discovered financial literacy and business acumen I never thought I'd possess. I'd built a network of fellow survivors who supported each other. I'd protected myself and my business in ways that would serve me for the rest of my life. And most importantly, I'd given my daughter a wedding built on honest money, earned through legitimate hard work, protected by wisdom and insurance and proper planning. The dream didn't die. It just took a longer, harder road to fruition. I'm standing in my bakery again, 5 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. The ovens hum, bread rises, and the familiar scent of vanilla and cinnamon fills the air. But I'm different now. On my office wall, I've framed 3 documents. 1. My business insurance policy, fully paid, comprehensively covered. 2. My life insurance policy, with Jasmine as beneficiary. 3. A photo of Jasmine's wedding, me and her dancing, both of us laughing. These 3 things represent everything I've learned. Insurance isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. I now carry general liability insurance to protect against customer injuries or property damage claims, property insurance with proper valuation, so a fire or theft won't leave me helpless, business interruption insurance so unexpected closures won't destroy my cash flow, workers' compensation for my employees because taking care of my team is taking care of my business, life insurance so Jasmine's future is secure even if I'm gone, disability insurance so an injury won't end my ability to earn income, critical illness coverage for medical emergencies that could bankrupt me. Every policy includes inflation protection clauses, so benefits grow with costs, waiver of premium riders, so illness won't cause me to lose coverage, clearly understood exclusions, so I know exactly what's not covered, proper grace periods and renewal terms, so coverage never accidentally lapses. Investment scams follow predictable patterns. I can now spot them instantly. Guaranteed returns. Legitimate investments carry risk. Pressure to decide quickly. Real opportunities don't disappear overnight. Resistance to documentation. Honest businesses provide detailed records. Emotional manipulation. Mixing business with family creates dangerous leverage. Unverifiable track records. Check references. Research companies. Verify everything. Financial literacy is power. Gerald taught me that knowledge protects better than any insurance policy. I now understand how to read financial statements, the difference between assets and liabilities, what compound interest actually means, why diversification matters, how to verify business credentials, when to seek professional advice. Trust must be earned, not assumed. Just because someone is going to be family doesn't mean they're trustworthy. Just because someone sounds sophisticated doesn't mean they're honest. Verify, research, question. Recovery is possible, but prevention is better. I rebuilt my savings, but it took 3 times as long as the original accumulation. The pain of loss echoes longer than the joy of gain. Protect what you have before you risk it. The other victims of Marcus's scheme became friends, support system, accountability partners. We share resources, warn each other about scams, celebrate financial victories. No one should navigate these waters alone. If you're watching this video, you're probably a middle-aged woman like me. Maybe you own a small business. Maybe you're saving for your kids' futures. Maybe you've worked hard your whole life and finally have a little financial cushion. Please, I'm begging you, protect it. Not because the world is full of Marcus Chens, though there are more than we'd like to admit, but because you've earned security. You deserve peace of mind. Get proper insurance, all of it. Yes, it costs money monthly, but one uninsured disaster costs everything. Learn about money. Take a financial literacy class. Read books. Consult with reputable advisors like Gerald. People with credentials, history, reputations to protect. Question guarantees. If something sounds too good to be true, it is. Real wealth is built slowly, boring, consistently. Not through secret opportunities or exclusive access. Trust your gut. When Gerald warned me about Marcus, something in my stomach twisted. I ignored it because I wanted to believe it. Listen to that inner voice. It's trying to protect you. Document everything. Keep records. Save emails. Screenshot conversations. If you ever need to prove fraud, documentation is your weapon. And please, please don't let family relationships override due diligence. I almost lost everything because I couldn't imagine my future son-in-law being a predator. Scammers count on that blind spot. I want to know your story. Have you ever been scammed? Have you learned financial lessons the hard way? Have you protected yourself with insurance that saved you from disaster? Share your experiences in the comments below, not to shame yourself, but to help others. Every story you tell might prevent someone else from making the same mistake as I did. What types of insurance do you carry for your business? How did you learn about financial literacy? Have you ever questioned an investment opportunity and been grateful you walked away? Let's build a community of women who protect each other through shared wisdom. And if this story helped you, if you learned something, if you felt less alone in your own financial struggles, please subscribe to this channel. I share stories like this every week. Real stories from real people who've faced business challenges, overcome financial setbacks, learned to protect their families and their futures. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because knowledge is power. And together, we're stronger than any con artist, any scam, any force that tries to take what we've worked so hard to build. My name is Patricia Hayes. I lost $40,000 to a con artist, rebuilt my life, and created security I once thought impossible. This is my story, but it doesn't have to be yours. Learn, protect, prosper, and never ever let anyone convince you that love means surrendering your financial safety. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay educated, and stay protected. Until next time.